Lily Carter was 16 when she vanished into the warm night air of Maple Hollow, leaving behind nothing but a cracked phone and a mystery that would haunt the town for years. The summer fair in Maple Hollow had always been the highlight of the year. It drew families from every corner of the small town. Bright lights spinning on the Ferris wheel, the smell of popcorn drifting through the air, and laughter echoing from the game booths. On the night of July 18th, 16-year-old Lily Carter was seen walking out of the fairgrounds with a stuffed bear in her hand, the prize she had won at the ring toss. She told her friends she was heading home before dark. That was the last time anyone saw her. When Lily didn't come home by midnight, her parents assumed she had stayed with friends. But by morning, panic had set in. Her phone was discovered in the grass near the edge of the fairground, screen cracked and battery dead. Her shoes had light traces of mud, but there were no footprints leading away from the area. Search teams combed through the nearby woods, drainage ditches, and fields, while volunteers posted her picture on every shop window in town. For the first week, it felt as if the entire community had stopped breathing, waiting for any sign of her. The investigation started quickly. Police interviewed the fair workers, who remembered Lily only vaguely. A food vendor recalled seeing her near the exit talking to someone in a gray hoodie. No one else could confirm it. Security cameras captured her walking alone, but the footage ended just before she reached the parking lot. Beyond that, she seemed to vanish into the warm summer night. News of the missing girl spread across the county, and reporters swarmed Maple Hollow. Cameras pointed at the Carter family home as Lily's mother pleaded for her daughter's safe return. Her father stood beside her, pale and silent, gripping a photo of Lily from her last birthday. The image, her brown hair tied in a loose braid and her blue eyes sparkling, was printed on thousands of missing person flyers. The town rallied to help. Candlelight vigils were held every Friday at the park. People left flowers at the fairground fence. But as days turned into weeks, the search grew quieter. Rumors began to take root. Some said Lily had a secret boyfriend and had run away to be with him. Others whispered about strangers passing through town that night. A few even claimed to have seen her near the old railway tracks, though no evidence supported it. Theories grew more desperate as the case stalled. For every lead that appeared, 2 more turned out to be false. By the end of summer, the investigation had slowed to a crawl. Detectives admitted they were running out of options. The fair packed up and left, leaving behind an empty field and a few scraps of colored paper stuck in the grass. The lights were gone, the noise faded, and Maple Hollow returned to its ordinary stillness. Yet the absence of Lily Carter hung over everything. The laughter of children seemed softer, the streets emptier. In every window, her photograph remained taped up, edges curling with dust and sun. People still glanced at it when they passed, as if expecting her to reappear one day, walking down Main Street with that same stuffed bear in her arms. But deep down, everyone knew something terrible had happened that night. Something no one could explain. Almost a year had passed since Lily Carter disappeared when a new clue unexpectedly surfaced. It came not from police work or a confession, but from the lens of a street photographer named Owen Daniels. He had been capturing candid portraits in the bustling city of Brookhaven, nearly 200 miles from Maple Hollow. Among the dozens of images he shared online, one photograph caught the attention of a user on a missing persons forum. It showed a young woman sitting alone at a bus stop, dressed in dark clothing, her face partly hidden behind oversized sunglasses and a short black wig. Something about her posture and expression looked hauntingly familiar. The user compared the image to one of Lily's old school pictures. The resemblance was undeniable, the same freckle pattern across the nose, the same curve of the jaw. But what confirmed it for many was the faint scar above her right eyebrow, a mark Lily had since a childhood accident. Within hours, the image spread across social media. People zoomed in, enhanced the photo, and debated in the comments whether it was truly her. The timestamp revealed it had been taken just 3 weeks earlier, sparking a wave of hope and disbelief. Local news stations picked up the story, reigniting interest in the cold case. Reporters swarmed the small town again, asking Lily's parents what they thought. Her mother said she felt sure it was her daughter. Her father remained cautious, but visibly shaken. Police quickly tracked down Owen Daniels, who told investigators that the woman in the photo had refused to give her name when he asked for a model release. He remembered her voice as soft but tense, her eyes darting toward the road as if expecting someone to appear. After the photo was taken, she walked away quickly and disappeared into the crowd. Detectives analyzed the background of the picture for clues. The bus stop was located near a downtown art district filled with small studios and secondhand shops. Security cameras from nearby stores were reviewed, revealing brief glimpses of the same woman entering a thrift shop minutes after the photograph was taken. She appeared to buy a small backpack and a jacket before leaving in a hurry. The next frame showed her boarding a bus heading north. The revelation reignited online discussions. Some believed Lily had been kidnapped and had finally escaped. Others thought she might have been hiding all along, living under a new identity. Amateur investigators began combing through social media for more photos of the mysterious woman. A few users claimed to have seen someone matching her description in other cities, though none of the reports could be verified. In Maple Hollow, the discovery reopened old wounds. People who had long given up hope began whispering again. The local newspaper printed the headline, "Lily Carter Alive," across its front page. The police urged caution, warning that mistaken identity was possible, but deep down, even they felt something had shifted. After a year of silence, a single image had breathed new life into a case everyone thought was over. That photograph, simple and ordinary at first glance, would become the thread that unraveled everything that followed. The photograph of the disguised girl led investigators to focus their search on the city where it had been taken. Every lead was examined, every bus route checked, and every witness near that stop was interviewed. Slowly, the trail grew clearer. Receipts from the thrift shop and nearby stores indicated someone using cash had made small purchases in the area during the same week the photograph was taken. Surveillance cameras captured glimpses of a young woman fitting Lily A.'s description walking through alleyways and carrying a backpack similar to the one she had bought. From there, detectives began piecing together a route that led them to a rundown neighborhood at the city's edge, an area full of crumbling apartment buildings and abandoned warehouses. Inside one of those buildings, the property manager mentioned a tenant who had moved out abruptly the previous month, leaving the rent unpaid. The name on the lease was unfamiliar, Elena Ward, but the manager described her as a quiet young woman who kept to herself, often wearing hats or scarves that covered most of her face. A search warrant was quickly obtained. When officers entered the small apartment, the air smelled faintly of paint and dust. The walls were bare except for a single unfinished canvas resting on an easel. It showed a lake surrounded by pine trees, eerily similar to the one near Lily's childhood home in Maple Hollow. The place had been carefully cleaned, but not perfectly. In the bathroom trash bin were makeup wipes streaked with dark dye, as though someone had been removing a wig or disguise. A half-empty box of hair color sat under the sink. On the floor near the window was a burned clump of synthetic hair, partially melted into the carpet. It was clear someone had wanted to erase their traces. Still, one thing stood out. On the kitchen table lay torn photographs showing Lily beside an older man. His face appeared in several fragments, sometimes blurred, sometimes in focus. The corners of the photos were scorched as if someone had tried to destroy them but stopped halfway through. Neighbors were questioned, and a few remembered hearing faint music at night, soft melodies that stopped suddenly when footsteps echoed in the hallway. One tenant said he had seen a man visit the apartment several times before the woman left. The description matched Daniel Rhodes, a local art teacher who had resigned from his position 6 months earlier without explanation. Investigators discovered that Rhodes had once volunteered at a youth art program in Maple Hollow, the same one Lily had attended years before her disappearance. Detectives searched for Rhodes but found that he, too, had vanished. His phone was disconnected and his car had been abandoned in a parking lot near the river. Inside the vehicle was a sketchbook filled with pencil drawings, portraits of Lily, each one more detailed than the last. On the final page was a sketch of her sitting beside the same lake from the painting in the apartment, but in the drawing, her face was hidden by a mask. The discovery shifted the investigation entirely. What had begun as a simple missing persons case now pointed to something more complex, a connection that stretched back years. The evidence suggested Lily had been living in the city under a false identity and that Daniel Rhodes had been helping or controlling her. Whether she had chosen to hide or been forced into silence was still unknown. All that remained was the mystery of where she had gone next and why she seemed determined never to be found. 2 months after the discovery of the hidden apartment, investigators received an anonymous tip about an underground art exhibition held in a forgotten warehouse on the outskirts of the same city. The event had taken place shortly before Daniel Rhodes vanished. The show had been small, private, and invitation only, attended mostly by local artists and collectors who appreciated his unusual work. The theme was titled Masks and Mirrors, and every painting displayed faces half covered or distorted, as if each subject were hiding something behind their expressions. Among the collection, one piece had stood out to nearly everyone who attended. It was a haunting portrait of a young woman sitting by a window, her features partly obscured by shadows and a short black wig. Her sunglasses reflected the faint glow of streetlights, but the lower half of her face was unmistakable to anyone who had seen Lily Carter's missing posters. Her posture was fragile yet composed, and the faint scar above her eyebrow was visible even beneath the paint. Daniel had titled the piece Reflection Number 7. Witnesses said he seemed uneasy that night, pacing the room and avoiding questions about his inspiration. Police later obtained photographs taken during the exhibition. In the background of one picture, security footage revealed a woman wearing a large coat and a hat pulled low over her face, leaving just enough visible to suggest she might have been Lily. She appeared to linger near the door, staring at the painting, then leaving abruptly minutes before the event began. Investigators suspected she had attended in secret, perhaps to see what Daniel had done, or to make sure something remained hidden. When questioned, several attendees described Daniel as distracted and paranoid. He spoke about truth and illusion, saying that some faces aren't meant to be seen. After the show ended, he disappeared completely. His apartment was later found empty, the only trace left behind a collection of paintbrushes and an unfinished canvas turned to the wall. On its back, faintly written in pencil, were the words, "She's trying to be someone else." Detectives began to connect the exhibition to a larger pattern. In the months following Lily's disappearance, several anonymous paintings had surfaced in small art fairs across nearby towns, all depicting a similar figure, a young woman in disguise. Some were signed with initials matching Daniel's, while others bore no name at all. It became clear that the paintings were telling a story in fragments, as if someone had been leaving behind a visual trail. Online forums exploded with theories. Some believed Daniel had been helping Lily create these works as a form of secret communication, hidden in plain sight. Others thought he had used his art to control her, capturing her image as a possession rather than a muse. Investigators leaned toward the first theory after finding payment records showing that several paintings had been sold under a false name linked to Lily's missing debit card. The discovery of the exhibition deepened the mystery. It was no longer certain who was protecting whom, or whether the art was a confession, a cry for help, or a warning. What had started as a local mystery had now become something far stranger. An invisible dialogue between a vanished girl and the man who might have known the truth about her. Each canvas seemed to whisper clues, but none spoke clearly enough to reveal where she had gone next. 6 months after the secret exhibition came to light, a group of hikers exploring an abandoned railway tunnel outside a coastal town stumbled upon a small, weathered suitcase wedged between rocks. It was covered in dust, the metal latches rusted with time as if someone had hidden it deliberately and never returned. Inside were notebooks, sketchbooks, and several rolls of undeveloped film. The items were turned over to the authorities, and when investigators examined them, they realized they had found something extraordinary. The handwriting on the notebook pages matched samples from Lily Carter's school assignments. It was her diary. The diary entries spanned nearly a year, beginning a few months after her disappearance. The early pages were scattered and uncertain, describing feelings of confusion, fear, and longing for home. She mentioned waking up in unfamiliar places, traveling under false names, and constantly changing her appearance. As the entries continued, the tone shifted. She wrote about painting, about learning to hide through art, and about someone she referred to only as the teacher. She described him as both protector and captor, a man who believed that vanishing from the world was a form of freedom. The last few entries grew darker, filled with doubt and hints of escape. One line stood out: "If the mask becomes my only face, I will disappear completely." The rolls of film were developed by the forensics team, revealing a haunting series of self-portraits. In each image, Lily appeared in different disguises: short hair, long hair, wigs, hats, scarves, and sunglasses. Every photograph was taken in a different location: bus stops, small motels, street corners, and art studios. The progression of the images showed her changing, as though she were documenting her transformation into someone else. The final roll ended with a single frame. It showed Lily standing before a lighthouse overlooking the sea, the wind blowing her hair across her face. There was no date or location written on the back, only a faint pencil mark in the corner, a small symbol resembling the letter R. Investigators traced the coastline and eventually identified the lighthouse as one located in a quiet town several hours away. When they arrived, locals confirmed that a woman matching Lily A.'s appearance had lived there briefly under the name Anna Rhodes. She rented a small cottage near the harbor and sold handmade jewelry at the weekend market. Those who met her described her as polite but distant, often seen sketching near the shore. Then, just days before the suitcase was found, she vanished again, leaving behind only a few personal belongings and a half-finished drawing of a sea horizon. The discovery reignited public fascination with the case. Newspapers printed side-by-side images of Lily as she had been and the woman from the lighthouse photo. The resemblance was undeniable, but the question remained whether she was still alive. Despite renewed searches along the coast and surrounding towns, no further trace was found. Some investigators believed she had chosen to disappear for good, tired of being the missing girl everyone recognized. Others thought she might have been running from something darker that never stopped following her. The suitcase, diary, and photographs became the final known pieces of Lily Carter's story. They painted a picture of someone caught between freedom and fear, constantly reinventing herself to survive. Every few months, new photographs appear online, grainy, distant, and mysterious, showing a woman who looks like her in cities across the country. Whether these images are real or coincidences remains unknown. But somewhere, perhaps by the sea or behind another mask, Lily Carter's story continues to cast its shadow, refusing to fade into silence.